Great. Well, I call this meeting to order as we do have a quorum at 10:02. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from the previous meeting? All right. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
Make a motion to approve.
A second.
Those in favor to approve the minutes with an aye?
Aye.
Those opposed? Same. All right. The motion is carried. And the minutes stand approved as presented. I'd also like to go ahead at this time and take a moment to address those in attendance today. We'd like to give you an idea of the mission of the Design and Historic Review Commission. This was something put together by Bill Carter previously. This commission is to review issues and proposals presented by businesses and individuals and approve or disapprove those. Those findings are then passed on, if necessary, to be further reviewed with recommendations by staff and the necessary folks. We serve as an advisory group to assist council in checking for historical significance and appropriateness, and generally to aid in their reaching final decisions on the use of a building. We take this responsibility seriously and use our experience and the qualifications of those on staff to succeed in this task. Thank you for being here. Some of you may be asked to come forward and state your purpose or to answer the commissioner's questions on issues at hand. We ask that you come to the podium, state your name and who you represent. Be sure to speak up as you are being recorded. The public will be given an opportunity to comment on each issue. However, please do wait to be called on. At the close of the public session, the public will be given an opportunity to make comments on these or other issues. At this point, we will ask staff to present our first issue, please.
Good morning and welcome to DHRC. October 28th, 2014. We have one case today that was tabled from last month. And this is what we'll be reviewing today, the RCC 1423, Mr. Tim Condon. This is an approval of a sign in the river corridor required by section 12.703A of the River Corridor Development Ordinance to allow a new freestanding roof sign with a total sign height of 36 feet measured from the ground and a total sign area of 75 square feet. This is continuation from September 18th, DHRC. At the time, Mr. Condon had submitted plans that were originally submitted September 17th to the Planning Division for essentially a cactus sculpture, which is deemed under our sign ordinance as a roof sign. And at that time, the DHRC, your members had mentioned about revising that, make essentially more in keeping with the character of the downtown on the river corridor master plan. Essentially less animated, less cartoonish, and also that revised a model would be submitted as well. And Mr. Condon, I understand, has brought that in today, as well as submitted revised renderings. Just so the board understands, he does have the option of applying for his initial renderings if he'd like, or he could, the two alternatives that he's given us, which I'll show you in a minute. So basically he has three options today, and we'll go over those in a minute. So the subject site, the building is currently vacant right now at the southwest corner of West Concho Avenue and South Chadburn Street in downtown San Angelo at 0.343 acres. And so just to quickly move through what was previously approved, Mr. Condon did receive a sign variance under the river corridor. The maximum height is 30 feet. A sign variance was given by the Planning Commission for 36 feet. So that is in place. Be a 12-foot sign actually, because you're measuring it from the ground at 36, but the actual sign from the roof is only 12 feet high. However, being in the river corridor, Mr. Condon needs this additional approval regarding colors, lighting, and overall design. So that's what you're looking at today, of course. We had looked previously at the color palette, so our comments from the previous meeting remain unchanged. We're now going over to the satisfaction of the board in terms of the overall design. These were some of the sample colors based on the when the building was created in the postmodern period. So Mr. Condon again has reiterated to me that he would work with the green and lighting that would be in keeping with the river corridor. So that remains unchanged. And again, quickly, this is the original rendering he submitted back in September. And the area and size stays exactly the same, 7.5 feet wide by 10 feet high. Of course, it'll be three-dimensional and on a 2-foot base, so the total would be 12 feet high and then overall 36 feet from the ground. So after the previous meeting and discussions and your comments, on October the 7th, Mr. Condon submitted revised renderings, essentially giving two alternatives. Alternative 1 essentially keeps what he has before. He has changed the shape a little bit and reduced the size of the mouth, etc. We had emailed those plans to you for preliminary review. So that's maintaining everything as it is. And then the second rendering is essentially would be lowering the height and building a canopy, which is, I believe, exactly 11 feet to that roof line, and then having the cactus on there. So essentially it would only be, if this was approved, option 2, it would only be 23 feet high instead of 36 feet high. So this is just a quick schematic of the differences. This was the initial rendering submitted on top of the building, and then this is the new rendering here with the new cactus, and then this is alternative 2. So basically, he has 3 options today you'd be looking at. 1, he goes back to the original plan, looking more cartoonish, essentially. 2, he uses the new plan you approve, essentially like this. Or 3, also using that same style, but a little bit less in height. I just wanted to mention, if this was approved, option 3 here, he would need another approval from you. He'd have to come back again for the canopy to be approved in the river corridor. And he would also need another encroachment agreement from the city council, because the building was built up to 0 feet at the lot line. So the canopy would essentially be encroaching. So this, of course, would require more work for him. He's aware of that. So planning staff, based on your comments today and our previous comments, as we are only commenting on the lighting and the colors, what we can review within the river master plan, recommend approval, subject to the following conditions. Most of these remain the same. I'll just explain these very briefly here. Just a few changes because he's got the 2 alternatives now. So number 1, approval of the sign shall be consistent with the dimensions, either using the option where he's got it on the roof, or he lowers it and puts it on top of the canopy. Or option 3 was the original, where he goes back and just uses the initial design. Number 2, the sign shall be predominantly painted a shade of green, consistent with that period. That remains unchanged from before. Number 3, all exterior lighting shall be shielded and positioned in such a manner so as to not spill over onto adjacent property. That also remains unchanged. Number 4, the final color samples and lighting details shall be submitted to the Planning Development Services Director or his or her designee for final approval. Again, that remains unchanged. Number 5, prior to construction of the sign, and this goes back to the previous case, he will need the final colors and details from staff to be approved. And also number 6, that there was a condition by the Permits Division for a grease trap, which he still needs to fulfill by doing an encroachment agreement. So basically 1 and 7 are the changes, and the final condition 7 is that if he does decide to go with the canopy option, he's going to have to come back to get the canopy approved. So today we're only looking at the actual cactus sculpture. So he'll have to come back and get the approval from you all for the canopy, as well as an encroachment agreement from City Council.
Do you know how what the encroachment is on the canopy? Like, how large is this area that you're talking about?
It's it's 11 feet high. I'm not sure of the width because he only gave us the two-dimensional.
Sure, okay.
So we'd have to submit that, and we'd also have to look at, the length of the sidewalks and things like that.
It looks like in the drawing that the entry is recessed, which I think is a very effective approach, funneling business in. So I'm wondering, since it's recessed in, why the canopy couldn't still comply with the other, and that would enable you to not have to have that variance.
I agree. I think that's a good point. I think we'd have to see if it's workable. We had mentioned that in our previous case back in, I believe it was May or June, where, and that, you're right, is in keeping with the design guidelines in the river corridor that they do recess that. So I think it's workable. I guess he could probably comment on it more if he wants to do that.
The facade as drawn is, I think, greatly improved. It's a much classier looking building with the way he's handled that corner, So I would like to see if that could not be made more compliant, and also I think it would make it a better funnel for customers, to come in.
And so, Commissioner, what's going to transpire today is you're going to be reviewing the sign. And so based on, we've worded the conditions generally enough so that if the applicant chooses not to do that canopy, the condition won't apply. But if it does, then we can discuss the facade and the consistency and compatibility with the river corridor at the time that it comes before you again. But today's discussion will be based solely on the sign, that is the proposed cactus, if you will, its location, and its overall appearance. But rest assured, we will give you all the information. Should the canopy move forward, should that idea move forward, you'll have the size of it, you'll have the encroachment upon the right-of-way, you'll have all of that information in addition to colors and materials.
Yeah. Okay.
You said that we are looking at the location today, though?
You're simply looking at the location of the sign.
Right.
So in this case, that will only matter in terms of the date of the rendering of when it was submitted. But as to the
Okay.
appearance of the
Got
canopy
it.
or what it sits upon, you will review that at a later time.
Great. Do you have other questions for staff? All right, well, thank you very much, Jeff.
Thank you.
At this time, we will open it up for public comment and discussion. Again, if you would, please state your name and who you're associated with.
Okay, my name's Tim Condon. As you guys all know, I'm the owner of Angry Cactus. This is our logo, Angry Cactus. We're a West Texas bar and grill. What we want to do is offer a unique restaurant with a lot of personality for San Angelo to enjoy. What we did is I took and I watched the video and I looked at all of the concerns you guys all had, and I very seriously considered all 4 of the major concerns you guys had. First of which was a scale drawing, which I understand, when I first did the concept and when I first drew the concept, I made it a little oversized because it was completely conceptual. Now we're to the point where I've hired a architect and we've got professional drawings and they're to scale, and it can give you a little bit better idea of what we're wanting to do. Secondly, as I stated already, you guys wanted me to have a professional architect do the renderings, so we've done that already. Thirdly, have the artist create a model. I've also done that. We had a very time-sensitive issue here, so he got it done in less than a week. For the full-size model, he'll be spending up to 2 months to create it. This is hopefully going to be one of his portfolio pieces. The last issue, there were a few things said about the way that the cactus looked. It was phallic, it was offensive, so we also tried to address that. First of which, we have a scale drawing here. Henry, in the audience here, he drew up these renderings. We looked at numerous pictures dating all the way back to the 30s to try to take into consideration what the building has looked like before, and we wanted to add the rock facade and the stucco facade. We wanted to make it look as much as a historical building as we possibly could, although this building has no historical significance. We had pictures from the paper when there was a flood back in the 30s. We had pictures from the 60s that we could look at. This building hasn't been utilized since 1972. There was a fire in it back then, and since 72, which was way before I was born, there's been nothing in this building. So we've got a scale drawing here for you. Secondly, have a professional artist or architect do the renderings. Here's Plan B, I would say, kind of the original cactus on the roof. Thirdly, I had a artist construct the sculpture. Go ahead and take it. I'm not 100% happy with it, but as we said, we had a time crunch. The mouth is not correct, so I covered it up. As you can see, the smile is still under construction. As a chef, if anything's not right, I don't send that food to your table, so I'm not going to let you guys see the sculpture. But I can assure you that my objective is to have it look just like our logo. That is my goal, and the mouth does not look like our logo, so that is why the smile is still under construction. Like I said, we had a very limited time to get this. I thought this meeting was going to be 2 weeks ago, so it's not like I had the whole month, the time since I saw you last. I've had this sitting in my house for the last couple of weeks, so we had literally about a week or so to get this thing constructed. So I just want to make you aware of that. Next, I want to address the whole issue of phallic and it being offensive. We decided that instead of having it on the roof, because we didn't want to offend anyone by the shape of it, we decided to put it on the corner. I believe it's a win-win for us because it'll look a lot better down there. And not only that, if anyone, it'll eliminate the whole issue of the shape because it's on the side of the building, not on the roof. What do the citizens think of this cactus? Overwhelmingly, there were a few polls done in some local media. Overwhelmingly, the citizens think it's not offensive and are not quite sure what the whole issue is about of this. There were many thousands of votes cast, almost more than the last municipal election. Why the angry cactus? My job as a chef is to put food on a plate. But not only that, I look at food as art. I want every plate that comes out of my kitchen to have my personality on it. I want every person that comes into my restaurant to have an experience. There's not a single restaurant in town that looks at food service as an entertainment experience. There's nothing like it in town. I want every person that comes into my restaurant to have an experience, a West Texas experience. That's my only goal. You'll see every element of downtown in our restaurant. It's going to be creative, artsy, memorable, and and creative. And I want to make sure that San Angelo understands that we're creating a restaurant concept that is unlike any other restaurant in town. And I want people to be able to see that from the street. I have a crazy personality, and I want everyone to enjoy, having a plate of food created by me and our staff. If you guys just want another restaurant in town to come to downtown, I'm not your guy. The landowner knows that. I know that. I'm here to do something different, to draw attention to the culinary field. My passion is food. I donate a lot of time and effort at the culinary program up at Central. I'm one of their mentors. You know, my passion is growing the culinary art form in San Angelo. You know, everyone before me has done the artistic thing, you know, the murals downtown, the traditional forms of art. Nobody understands what food can do and what food can be on a plate if presented correctly. My background is in molecular gastronomy. I'm here to provide completely different ways of thinking about restaurants and food, and that's my only goal. And I want all of the elements of creativity and of personality to be reflected not only in the interior but the exterior as well, which you guys are all here to approve or deny. You know, lastly, you know, what makes downtown great? You know, downtown is unique. It's artsy, it's creative, it's memorable, it's historic. You can use all these adjectives. You know, I want my restaurant to reflect West Texas and downtown San Angelo. And the way that we do that is to create a concept that the food reflects downtown, the decor reflects downtown San Angelo, the service, all of the elements that make a restaurant creative and make a restaurant different from other restaurants. I want to use all of those, you know, forms of being creative and artsy to, you know, come together in this one concept, and that's my sole goal. You know, a vote against not having this cactus up there is a vote against these four things. You know, if you don't want San Angelo, downtown San Angelo, to be unique, then don't vote for this. If you don't want it to be artsy or creative or memorable, then don't vote for this. But as a person who's spending a lot of money on this concept, you know, I have a vision. You guys all may not see that vision now, but when you step into the restaurant, I can guarantee you that you will see that vision come to fruition completely. So that's all I have to say. You know, just in closing, you know, this is our logo. This is our concept. You know, there's a lot of other a lot of other bars in downtown San Angelo, not as many restaurants. You know, it's time that we have a restaurant that attracts attention and that everybody that comes through town will want to stop at this restaurant. I'm here to create a landmark. I'm not here to create just another Cheddar's or Chili's or Applebee's downtown. You know, anybody can do that. You know, I'm here to be a food artist, a creative person that comes together and develops a concept that is great for our community. You know, that's my sole goal, and part of it has to do with how do we do the outside? How do we make it different, you know? By not allowing our logo to be on the exterior of the building or the signage to be out there, it's a huge disadvantage. You know, Twisted Root had a 160 square foot logo that they were allowed to pin. That was their logo. That truck is their logo. You know, every Twisted Root has the same logo. This is my logo. Just because I don't have 4 locations like Twisted Root, you know, I want to have our logo on the outside of the building. So I just asked that, you know, that you approve it. Any questions?
I've got a question. Out of all the 3 concepts, which one would you prefer? I noticed on your deal, you wanted us to request that we would approve all 3 designs.
No, I'm sorry. This is number 1 right there. I want it to be.
That's the one you
absolutely.
would prefer.
I'm not looking to create the tallest sculpture in San Angelo. That was never our goal. Back in, I think it was June or July when I first brought the first rendering, you know, that was the first conceptual drawing of what we wanted to do. It's what I submitted to staff. It's what was on the presentation. You know, I understand that you kind of had to make a mental leap. You know, what was it going to look like versus what my drawing was. I understand the whole reasoning behind it. I mean, so yeah, what we want to do is do that. And I just might add that if we construct it like this, that there will be no variance. There should have been no variance requested for the additional feet. It's going to be under the height restriction. So we would have never had to go to the Planning Commission for this design. So I know, you know, you're concerned about why don't we you know, create it with the current regulations in mind. So that's also, you know, like I said, we took your feedback very seriously, and you know, we're trying to please everybody. I'm not here to you know, cause a big uproar or anything like that. We just want what's best for San Angelo, and I think that there was a great compromise made, and I think that you know, there will be some tweaks done. You know, like I said, our whole goal is to make this sculpture look just like our logo. It's that's the goal, and so there's tweaking to be done on the actual sculpture itself also. You know, the blades can be, or the spikes could be done less blade looking. You know, there's a lot of different things that can be done, but the whole goal is to make it look like that, our logo. That's completely 100% the objective.
Tim, if it's okay, I just wanted to add one comment. It was in our report. If you do decide on that option with on the canopy, and the DHRC decides to approve that, it's minor, but I just wanted to point it out. You would still need to set it back 1.5 feet, because above 20 feet, you still need the setback requirements. So as long as you keep it back 1.5 feet from, this is assuming the canopy is right at the line. If it goes over, then then you need the encroachment. But if it's right on the line, it'd have to go back 1.5, which is minor.
If that's physically possible, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I think everybody appreciates that you did take our feedback seriously and did attempt to address all of those concerns. Certainly, what's been submitted today is something we can actually look at and actually work with, which is great.
So just to be clear, today's vote will be on the sign. Mr. Condon understands that when this needs to come back to the commission for this new facade. It may not need a right-of-way encroachment agreement, but we need to approve it because we need to reapprove it. The commission needs to look at it again because it's a different facade. And so I just want to make sure that you understand that today's decision will be based just on the sign, just on the cactus. And then we'll come back, hopefully next commission meeting, with this rendering, with the canopy and the sign on top of this new canopy. They'll review that rendering and they'll make a decision. And then from there, in the meantime, you can still move forward with any right-of-way encroachment you need for, let's say, the grease trap that you need to have in the right-of-way if you're still proposing to do that. But I just want to make sure that everybody understands today's decision will be based solely on the sign, but it will have to come back next month if, in fact, Mr. Condon's vision of this particular facade is to be the reality for his restaurant. He needs to come back one more time to present this facade because it's substantially different than what you approved previously. For him to get permission to do that. But please be assured that in the meantime, Mr. Condon can move forward. If he is still proposing the grease trap in the right-of-way, he can move forward still with that request and give the information to planning so he doesn't lose any time in the process.
Exactly.
Okay?
Were there other comments from the public or questions that we had? Okay. At this time, then, we will close public comment. Folks, do you have anything you want to address?
I would like to add that out of the alternates we have, I do like the one that he prefers of those, and I do think the sculpture has probably helped us some actually see what that is. I don't have any problem with approving what he's asked for here.
I agree with Gary. I think he did a great job of the presentation. My question is to staff, so we need to select one out of the three, or are we just approving all of them as he? I mean,
One needs to be chosen, and
Okay.
then based on that, we will use that dated reference to that particular rendering. We will include it as the backup, so in the future, if anybody wants to do research on the project, they'll know which one was approved by this commission. But more importantly, you'll have a reference point for next month, if and when this item comes before you, then you can make your decision based on this facade being consistent with the request that's before you today. So you pick one with the location of the sign. The height the variance for the height has already been granted, so they can do this, they can go higher. Their height has already been approved. At this point, you're just approving the appearance
okay,
of the
well,
sign.
I know this may be off track, but my question to that is, if he does decide to put it in the canopy and then he goes to city council and they not approve it,
So this project doesn't have to go to city council, it ends at your commission.
I thought the canopy was an encroachment.
If it is encroaching into the right-of-way, it appears.
So we don't know that
We
right
don't know
now?
that because we don't have the information. So it appears it may be recessed back. We don't know yet. If the encroachment is in fact in the right-of-way, then it will go to council. But if it is not in the right-of-way, then it doesn't need to go to council. If
Okay,
he
I mean,
moves
I'm
it
just
back a
trying to
little bit.
push him along because, you know, he needs to get this thing going, and now it's just one more setback that he has to deal with. I wish we would have had that
We're
information.
going to try to minimize it as much as possible, so that we're trying to avoid having to put it in the right of way.
Well, yeah, because your building is right now is on the property line, so anything you do is gonna be in the right of way.
I'm told it's about, we have a foot to a foot and a half before we have to
Okay.
go for the right of way process. So we're trying to limit that as much as we can. If it's going
Okay,
to
so-
not set up there without it being more than 2 feet, then we'll have to.
Okay, so if we did just approve the sign, then they could actually cut into the building and push it back. That'd be something y'all would have to work out.
Exactly.
Well, and that's what the rendering is indicating, yeah.
Well, to a point, it doesn't really, you know, it's not to scale, I can't really tell what it looks like it's coming out to me.
I assure you that we will all have a better idea when the application is submitted for the revised rendering. And it will be not only to scale, but it will have dimensions listed on it,
Okay.
indicating not just the size of the canopy, but any, if any, encroachments within the right-of-way.
Well, I also think that the third drawing is more effective.
Yeah.
Across the board, I think it's more effective.
If we
Call it third.
approve that alternate, now, do we also approve that 12-foot height?
So the height has already been approved, and they
Okay.
were already granted a variance to go taller than even what they're showing on the
No, I'm
canopy. So it's already
saying,
done.
if we approve that, do we approve the sculpture height of 12 feet?
You can if you wish.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Do we have numbers on these renderings so we know exactly, this is the one we're all talking about?
We can call that rendering number 3.
3, okay.
3.
Just so you all know that, so the first, probably is going to go with one of these alternatives. So the new renderings were submitted on October the 7th, and the first rendering was September the 17th. So the two new alternative sketches, one included on the canopy and the other one not on the canopy, were October the 7th.
So he says that, so when that you make your motion and you read through each one of the conditions of approval, you'll be inserting the date October 7th, where it says received date.
I can definitely tell. I mean, it looks a lot better from what you brought to us today, Mr. Condon. I'm impressed with the canopy. I'm impressed with the whole building, and the style and design of what you've done to it versus what we had before. You know, I'm not an advocate of having this thing downtown. I love your ability and your desire to create something totally unique. My degree was restaurant and hotel management, and I managed Houston's restaurant in Addison. And if anything states about your personality or what you're capable of doing, it's your food. I can't get behind this as far as having the design. It doesn't keep with our historic design within the district. We've been downtown for some 30 years. Until Cooper's closed, we were, aside from Joyce Wilde's, we were the oldest one downtown. That size there, I could probably get behind it. But from being downtown, from basically its rebirth, from the grassroots of it, I feel that my position on this board is to make sure that we can keep within the design elements of what's downtown. I'm excited about your restaurant. I want another restaurant so bad in this town. I love good food. It just speaks volumes. And I think you're completely what we need downtown. I would hate to think that this is going to be the thing that keeps you from opening your restaurant because the building's beautiful. I can't get behind having something like this. Anywhere else in San Angelo would be perfect. It would be, I don't care what you'd put up in essence, but within this district, it's just, I don't feel that it fits. I want you to keep going. I want you to open up. I want you to have all the success, and I want to be one of your greatest persons that come in there. I just can't get behind the size of the cactus.
Can I just ask what the difference is from Twisted Root putting their 160 square foot logo on the top of their restaurant versus my logo? What makes my logo unattractive versus Twisted Root's logo attractive?
I feel the difference on that would be the fact that that is within our era of downtown. I mean, if it had been a Model T, it would have been great. If it had been a horse and carriage, it would have been great. It's an old truck, but it kind of goes within our area of downtown. I'm a little hesitant on having a cactus to me that looks more like something that it should be, I don't know, Vegas, or it just doesn't fit within the downtown district, in my opinion.
May I ask,
Mr. Condon,
you know,
sir, with all due respect,
yeah,
the chairman has closed the public hearing for input. You need to allow her to open it up, to allow us to stay within the Robert's Rules of Order, and then, and only then, may you
I
input.
feel it's my
from-
obligation
I
to,
understand
you know.
that you feel it's your obligation. Sir, with all due respect.
may I continue talking, please?
At this time, we'll reopen public
Perfect.
comment.
Thank you, ma'am. Perfect.
You know, I've gone downtown many times to look at certain signs. You know, a couple that come to mind is the Grinner's Cheshire Cat logo, Fat Boss. You know, the whole reason for the name Angry Cactus is well, we all know that cactus is all over West Texas, Texas in general. This is my version of trying to create something that has personality and pizzazz. And, you know, comments on social media like, you know, why does the fox have to be sassy? You know, from Sassy Fox. You know, why does the horse have to be dead? From the Dead Horse. What do those businesses have to do with, when it comes to their name and their logo, with historic downtown? The whole point of downtown is diversity. You know, if we don't have diversity in downtown, then it's not going to become what we all want it to be and what we're all pushing for. I mean, I can promise you that everyone here in this room wants downtown to grow. I mean, we all know that. That's not something that we're trying to get away from here. What downtown needs is diversity. If we want to keep opening up bars in downtown, so be it. But I'm here to offer a unique and creative new concept. And by just saying that, you know, we want all the buildings to look historic, there's no historical significance to this building whatsoever. I want you guys to all be aware that there is no historical significance. You know, this is a way for me to create a concept that sticks out in the market, which I should have every right to do. And, you know, there's a lot of other things, you know, that we could do, yes, but, you know, why can't we do this? You know, there's so many, you know, Sealy Flats, for instance, you know, it's unique. Deja Vu, Eggermeyer's, they're all unique concepts. You know, what's to say one's too unique for downtown? What I'm hearing is this is too unique for downtown, and I think that needs to be addressed. Is this isn't too unique for downtown. I just happen to be someone who thinks outside the box a little bit, who pushes the envelope on what can be done. You know, that's called progression. We don't want to sit and, you know, have downtown just always be there and have nothing creative down there. You know, every business is unique, and this is my way to promote my business in a unique way, you know, and that's what my goal is. If we're questioning, you know, the heart of downtown when it comes to us, you know, I want downtown to thrive just as much as you do, just as much as anyone on the board here, you know, and the way that we do that is with diversity. You know, I've looked over countless social media posts and looked at everyone's opinion. Some people don't like it, some people do. Overwhelmingly, they love it, or at least it causes a little bit of talk, a little conversation about what, you know, what's interesting. And, you know, that's what my job is to put money into downtown and attract people to downtown. If you've got a landmark restaurant downtown, I can promise you people are not just going to be passing through Bryant Boulevard going north and south anymore. They're going to come to downtown and spend money at Eggermeyer's or spend money somewhere else. So, you know, from one business owner that owns a business downtown already to another one, I say, you know, diversity is what's going to grow San Angelo, not just keeping everything the same way that it is now. You know, downtown's grown. tremendously, and it's because there's creative people coming to the plate with their own money and putting these projects and these concepts up. Anyone that challenges the creative elements or the difference, the diversity of downtown, that's a shame, because we don't want that. We want diversity, and everyone wants that. So on the diversity side of things, this is completely different, and we're thinking outside the box. It's modern, it's new, and it's a shame that we're afraid of things that are new and modern and different.
I'm sorry, we weren't talking about any historic significance of the building itself, and we're not trying to thwart any of your creativity. The board wants creativity. It wouldn't be in our best interest to serve on this board, to volunteer our time, not to want to help San Angelo grow. That's why we're here. That's why you're here. We want you to work. We want every business that comes downtown to work. That's the only reason that we're trying to make sure that it goes in a certain direction so it stays that way. Williamsburg, Virginia, Fredericksburg, everything has to be a certain way within that design district because they want success. And I want success from you. I want to see this thing work. I just can't get my head around having this design and this design being the central focus of your success or not. This is not going to be your success. This is something that's purely, it is an image. And I don't mind having it maybe that size there, but I'm just against having it the size that's what's being brought up on the renderings today. But no, we're never against anything as far as success, creativity, memorable experiences. We want all that to happen, and we want it to continue to happen. That's the only way we're going to grow. It's just up to this board to decide whether or not it works within this district, this element.
And I just might add that the size is not what's under discussion now. The size has been set by the Planning Commission. You guys are tasked at the shape, at the colors, at the lighting. You guys aren't tasked with deciding what size the sign is. And I know Patrick's here and Jeff too. This isn't a conversation about what the size is. It's about the look. So I want to make that kind of clear also.
Yes, I'd like to speak for a moment. One of the things that I'm aware of in downtown is that we agreed to be part of the Main Street USA program. The Main Street USA program. And I'm wondering how this sort of look, not the building, but the signage, complies with that USA Main Street program that we're trying to be a part of, which is a national program. And so I would like to hear how you feel like that complies.
When we did the renderings and when we talked about the entrance and when we talked about the signage, we took that into consideration. The corner awning was something that was specifically brought in that plan. They want to see more corner entrances with grand entrances. The word grand entrance was something that was brought up. Awnings on the corner was something that was brought up. Lots of stone in the architecture. Lots of outside of the box signage.
Everybody's in agreement that the building itself is exemplary.
Well, when I say outside of the box signage, I would consider that outside of the box.
Well, Main Street USA is about historic signage. It's not so much about modern signage.
And sometimes when we have these conversations, I think we forget what's actually downtown. I know in Jeff's previous presentation, there were multiple pictures of current signs, and none of them have historical significance.
Many of those signs happened downtown before downtown San Angelo joined the Main Street USA program, though, and they were grandfathered in. And so that's something that has to be considered.
Keep in mind, I'm asking for half of the square footage that Twisted Root was approved.
It's not
so
the
I'm not.
signage.
It's not.
It's not the size. Yeah.
Well, it's not, the size isn't something that we're debating.
Just for the record, could you clarify, Mr. Condon, for us what the size of the sign is with the base?
Yes, it's 75 square feet, which would be a 10-foot high sign.
Okay.
That is, 7.5 feet on average wide.
So is it 10 feet, or is it 12 feet with the 2-foot base?
It's 10 foot. It's 10 foot is what, with a base of some sort.
So
Could be up to 2 feet.
with 10 plus whatever the
Yeah, total
base
of
is.
12.
Okay, so okay, so we got it for the
Okay.
record.
All right, great, thank you. Mr. Eggemar, what size would you feel more comfortable with?
Like I was saying before, that size there, and I know that is just, I commend you. That it takes a lot to make anything that, even like that, is just, there's a lot of work just to make that happen for this meeting. But that would be a perfect size, under my opinion, as far as how I feel. When you come up to a business, what is your first eye going to catch? It's still going to catch that. And then this rendering here you have with the stone and the awning, that's beautiful. I can't wait. I want that to happen downtown. But when your eye catches something that much as the cactus in that picture, and I know that's what you want people to see. You want them to understand you're all about this angry cactus. And you were referencing Sassy Fox and Sassy and Dead Horse. They don't have a dead horse. They don't have a picture of a fox that's sassy. It's a painting. It's not a 3D model like we're talking about. I'm not against you having a painting on a building of an angry cactus. It's just when you get to this part that's standing by itself, it's the center of the whole element of design. And I understand that's where you're wanting to go. There's got to be a different way to get to it. I mean, if you want to put a picture or something, not this size, I do like that size. But anything bigger than that, it's getting, I don't know, cartoonish. It's getting out of, it's not setting the precedence of what I feel downtown needs to look like.
Thank you. Margaret, did you have something?
Well, I want to disagree because when you're dealing with the whole of outdoors, I mean, your scale compresses. Oh.
And I might add too that we are competing with these trees. Keep in mind that the property owner planted these trees. To be honest with you, his recommendation was cut down the trees so we can have better look on the exterior of the building. I don't want to do that. I want to let those trees grow, I mean, quite honestly. But, we only have a small corner to deal with. What we're battling here, the whole reason why this whole angry cactus was on the roof from the beginning was we're competing with these two corner trees. There's no place on the building at all, anywhere, to put a sign except for on this corner or on the roof. At first we thought the roof was going to be okay. After some careful deliberation and some some thought behind it, we thought, oh, maybe the corner. But we are here to make a statement. We don't want to blend in with the we're here to make a statement, a creative statement. This isn't bad for downtown. It's not. The precedence that's being set is, if you want to create something awesome and something memorable, create it in downtown San Angelo, and I think that's a good thing, So to keep that, I mean, if we were to put signage on the building some other spot other than this corner, it's going to be covered by those trees. So we can cut down those trees. If you guys want me to cut down the trees so I have more space to come back to you guys and think of another way to do the signage, table it today, and we'll come back next time and we'll figure out a way to get rid of those trees so that we can have signage on our building. I mean, I wouldn't want to do that, but if we have to cut down the trees so we can put our sign up, then we can do that. But I wanted to build our sign around the existing landscape of the building. I mean, we're going to improve the sidewalks. We're going to improve everything there. I didn't want to cut down the trees. But if you're suggesting that, we put the signage on the building or our logo in a 2D model on the side of the building, we'll absolutely do that. Then the only way to see it is if we cut down those 2 corner trees, and we'll be more than happy to do that. But there's no trees downtown except for this property in this immediate area, and I want to keep the trees. I really do. You know, that's right where all the Christmas lights come through, you know. I want to keep those trees so I can put up the best Christmas light display in town right there on the corner. That's my goal. I don't want to cut down those trees. But if you're suggesting that we put a sign with the same square footage that's already been approved, the only way we're going to see that sign is if we cut down those trees. And we can do that. That's not a problem because the property owner did plant those trees. So, you know, that's an option too. But I don't want to cut down those trees. I mean, to be honest with you, I know it sounds like I have this angry cactus heart inside, but it's not the case. I'm truly passionate about making downtown grow to the best of its ability. And sometimes you got to think outside the box, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Madam Chairperson, would you like to ask the applicant if he is comfortable reducing the size of the proposed sign, keeping it in the location where he wishes it to be, that is on the proposed canopy, keeping the trees so that we can keep vegetation in front of this building, which I think is helpful for everyone, including the facade of the building overall. Would you like to begin a dialogue with the applicant to see if he's willing to reduce the size of the sign to something that would be more appropriate in scale-wise for the area that the commission could get behind, still in keeping with the proposed appearance, even with a modified facial expression and/or the spikes, which, by the way, for the record, I think is great for a restaurant. But would you like to go ahead and begin a dialogue with the applicant to see if it can be scaled down somewhat so that way the commission can get behind
Sure.
this proposed rendering? And we don't
Certainly.
have to continue the item.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. I mean, that's a question for you. Is that something that you're open to?
We're open to anything, but, you know, I was told coming into this that this is not about the size. It's never been about the size. This board has nothing to do with the size. You know, could we make it smaller? Absolutely. Should we make it smaller? Let's take a look at it. But, you know, this wasn't ever a debate about the size. I didn't come to this meeting anticipating talking about the size. You know, these things aren't just something you think about. You got to analyze these type of things. You know, we're more concerned about having you guys approve something that looks like that. You know, is it going to look slightly, you know, like I said, our whole goal is to make our logo stand out, you know, and I keep going to this Twisted Root thing. Their logo is their sign is 162 square feet. I'm not trying to go for anything even half that. You know, I'm not here to create the largest cactus in West Texas. That's not my goal. You know, my goal is to be able to put my logo in front of my restaurant. If we were to go measure everyone's sign downtown, then we can have that debate next time, and we'll compare everyone's signs and how big they are. You know, that's fine, because I know there's a huge sign downtown right now that I can say is well over quadruple the size of Twisted Roots policy. So this isn't something I'm prepared to do today debate the sign,
Sure.
the size of the sign. I never came into this. I mean, if you guys want to table this and put it on for next meeting, then I'll analyze every sign downtown and look at where they were, and we can find a medium there. I came here trying to compromise between making this cactus look phallic and cartoonish, and that's what we came to this meeting to try to address, not the size. You know, the Planning Commission were the ones that told me to go bigger. You know, I came to them only asking for a 10-foot sign. They granted me a 12-foot sign. They said the bigger the better. You know, I understand that's not what we want. I mean, you know, we could all get carried away and have a huge sign competition downtown or whatever. You know, that's not what my goal is. Could it be smaller? Absolutely. I mean, I'm not here to, push the limits of every aspect of the sign. I mean, all I'm trying to do is be allowed to put my logo up. You know, it sounds like my logo is just not good enough for downtown.
I think the
so
concern
that's
again is more this type of sign, it's very different than what already exists. And so
And-
that's part of why we have to look
And
at
I
it
would
carefully.
say that difference is a
Right.
positive thing.
But it's also
Diversity is a
something that we
positive
have to
thing.
be careful about.
So, I mean, to answer the question, yeah, we can compromise on the size of the sign. That's not an issue. I mean, I'm not here to cause an uproar with, oh, you're letting me do this or that. I mean, my job is to get this thing made, get this thing started under construction, get this thing open. I mean, to be honest with you, I thought we'd be open by now. It's kind of frustrating. You know, and we're ready to start construction. And, you know, and I just want to make sure, because let's put it, if I'm not allowed to put a sign on my restaurant, I'm not going to open, and that's a fact. If I'm not allowed to put a sign on my restaurant, which is right now, there's no signage allowed on, unless you guys approve this. You know, I have to have a sign on my restaurant. Right now, there's no signage allowed on my restaurant at all.
Well, I'm sorry if you think that a sign is going to keep a restaurant from going, I'm sorry that you're making that choice. That's not the board's choice. That is you as the business owner's choice to do that. What we're doing is whether or not this one element works within the downtown district, not the whole thing. We already said you can do a lot of the signage on a building. We already approved that on the
That's
other
not the
buildings.
case.
We are discussing this only, not the opening or closing or anything about your business. And furthermore, I'm not really excited about you putting the words in the mouth of the board of what we do and don't do according to what's right or wrong. That's not the case here. We are discussing whether or not something is supposed to exist within an area. Does it go with the area? Is it what we're wanting to do? We want the restaurant to be there. We want everything to be there. The question is whether or not this fits within the area, not the business. I don't mind that size. If you're good with that size, I'm good with that size. Anything bigger than that, I might have a problem. We might lose the trees. You might have to cut them down only because it's a foundation issue. I know for a fact there's a couple of buildings that have the sewer lines and the foundations that are starting to break apart because of the trees are growing into them. I don't want to cut any trees down at all. I want to keep as many trees as possible. However, the trees weren't the best thing to plant at the time, and we didn't really know at the time what we really wanted. We had an idea where we wanted to go, but the trees are becoming an issue now. But I don't want to cut them down if we don't have to, unless it's a foundation problem, a structure problem. We're here to also protect the integrity of this, and part of that is if the trees are causing a foundation problem, the trees have to go, because the buildings are going to far outlast you, the board, and everybody here. That's what downtown is. It was here before we were here. It'll be here after we're here. And we want to continue that downtown grows, most especially grows in a certain way. But we're just discussing the size of this as far as does it fit. So in element, or in essence, it is an issue for me, I don't know for the rest of the board, of size, because what you had before, it was way out of scale. It wasn't to scale, and we tabled it. We didn't vote you down. We tabled it. And we said, let's have some more information on how big this is. Now we have a better idea of how big it is. It's a lot smaller than what it was drawn first off. But as far as I'm concerned, it's still too big. That size there, I'm not voting you down. I want you to have your element. I want the restaurant to be there. And I'm sorry if that size is not good enough and you're not going to open the restaurant, that's not the board's decision. That's your decision. So don't put that in our mouth.
Well, and maybe it's a matter of 3D versus 2D, because I can put that logo up on the building twice as big as what I'm proposing. You know, the square footage is only 75 square feet.
Only if it is approved by the board.
Well,
It has to be part of the board. We're here to make sure it fits within the district.
There's no signage that's been approved now. So where I stand right now is I'm not allowed to put any signage up.
I don't have a problem with that.
Compromise, a middle ground.
Madam Chairperson, you have two options at this point. You can go ahead and ask for a motion based on exactly what the applicant has submitted today and what the Planning Commission has approved in terms of the additional height that can go. You can approve today the appearance of the sign, understanding that the variance has already been granted for the sign. You can see if there's a motion, a second, and if there are enough votes for that motion to pass and for that decision to be made. If it fails, or if someone wishes to make an alternate motion, that is to say, to table the item, since the matter has to be brought before you anyway, at the earliest next month, to approve the revised renderings, someone may also, instead of making a motion to approve the sign, ask to table the item so that both items can come at the same time, that is the rendering and the sign, so you can make an informed decision, and the applicant has an opportunity to discuss amongst his consultants as to if they feel that it is within their business model to scale down the proposed sign to something that's more reflective of what this board wants to see for the area. So again, you have two options. You may ask for a motion to approve it as it's presented today with the conditions of approval that staff has in the staff report, or you may ask for a motion, someone may make a motion to table the item for next month to approve the redrawings, that is the new renderings of the facade, and the sign as presented again if there are any changes that the applicant has. Okay?
So at this time, we,
Patrick Howard, Director of Planning Development Services. I think I would offer also, since the applicant is here and you have some robust discussion about the size of the sign, I think that it would be in your best interest maybe to continue that dialogue so there can be some additional direction given to the applicant. I think that certainly we've gone on for some time with this, and I think that we want to make sure that if we are going to come back at the next meeting that there is some consensus about what we will likely see, some concurrence about what we've agreed upon generally speaking, so that no one can be surprised and that there won't be this continuation of sort of a, sort of not on the same page related to what, each other has in terms of an expectation of what's to come. So if the applicant is interested in having more discussion about the size of the sign, if that is something that there is concerns about, I think that it would be in our best interest to continue that discussion while we're here.
Thank you.
I don't know whether the sign as it is presented here today will pass. And I think we had talked earlier, if the applicant could look at some different format for this sign. I'm not at all suggesting changing the name or anything, but it's possible that the sculpture aspect is the problem in the downtown area, and maybe there's a different format that you could present and as a compromise. That's just a suggestion.
Does anybody have any additional input in terms of what you would like the applicant to think about in terms of the size?
And Ms.
I would like to hear, from the council, so that you may also hear, what the objective in maintaining the Main Street USA policies are as how they affect the look of downtown. If you could address that.
I don't know if do we have a representative here from that group?
We don't. In terms of what staff can review on the items that we bring before you, whether it be a sign or a facade, or even when we decide administratively certificates of appropriateness or changes of a non-substantial nature to a building facade. The things that we look at are consistency with the River Corridor Handbook. Yes, we do take into account some of the Main Street principles as part of that program that the state of Texas has. We do in fact do that, but when we make decisions that come before you, when we make recommendations that come before you, we have a very limited prescribed set of criteria that we look at. Your criteria, however, is much broader. It's much more global in scale. You have the ability to look at the area. That's why you're chosen to be on this commission, because you have the expertise and the experience and the knowledge and the education to be able to make those kind of global decisions based on the area. Staff, on the other hand, looks at things like color palettes, reflectivity of light, where it's located in terms of setbacks and heights.
Right.
Those are the type of things that we look at.
And actually, I think it turns out that Mr. Eggmeyer does know something about that.
I'm on the executive board of DSA, but our rules are more strict than I would imagine what San Angelo's rules are. San Angelo's kind of like, well, does it fit within this area? But Main Street, and I was president when, I guess the second or third president, it's been a while ago, but all the areas that we went to, from Georgetown to the other Main Street cities, everything was very specific and trying to stay within the element of design within the area. And so this by itself, it wouldn't follow suit of that. So it's good that board's not really, I guess through me, it is here, but like I said, I don't have a problem with that size. I don't have a problem with you having what you want in the design style of that in that size. I'm not voting against the whole thing. It's just when you get too big, it doesn't work design-wise.
Yeah, and to what Ms. Mallard said, we're not going to be in a building with a roof. We're outside. You got the sky, you got those trees you have to compete with. The scale, the scale of a 10-foot sign outside is it's not going to look. You guys are thinking it's going to be this giant, huge, it's going to compete with the Cactus Hotel on the skyline or something. That's not what, my intention is. My intention is to have it large enough so that it makes the corner unique. But I'm not here to make it so huge that I turn everyone off from coming to my restaurant. We are outside. We're competing. It's not going to be any taller than the building is already. Maybe a few feet at the most, depending on where it's placed. So, to Patrick's point, let's start the dialogue on what size is appropriate. Right now we're at 12 foot. Is 10 foot better suited? If that's the case, then I'm okay. I'm okay here saying 10 because that's originally what we were asking is 10 foot. 8 foot. Well, now we're getting a little too small for that building. Keep in mind that the size of the building is 24 or 25 feet tall. So, it's a 2-story building. So by putting a 3-foot sculpture on the roof of a 24-foot building, there's no point because it's just going to look like a little itty-bitty thing up there.
I think what you would have to do, if that's what you used, would be to have, the rest of the logo out beside it or something like that, a little bit more akin to what you have in your logo proposal. It would have to be just set up differently for that to work.
My goal is to not have to come back to you guys again. I want to get this project moving forward, and the problem with the process is that if I want to change one element of the design, it's a constant. It's just constant municipal red tape, and I'm trying to sit here and just get this thing approved. Not have to come back because, quite frankly, neither myself nor the landowner want to, start anything until we know what we can do. I'm trying to play by the rules. We went through the process. This is the process we have to go through. That it's a good process. It's just, it's sad that we have to constantly keep going and sit. This is the 4th time I've sat in front of you guys. How much is too many times? I mean, there's so many other things we can be doing with our time than sitting here discussing this cactus and whether it's too big or too small. I mean, I want to get this done today. I want to find what size is good for you guys and take a look at it. But honestly, I wasn't prepared to talk about what size. I would thought we were here trying to make it less offensive and all the other things that were said at the last meeting, not the size. But when you're outside and when you're competing with the trees and we're at a 2-story building, you put a 3-foot sign on a 2-foot building, it's not going to have the same effect.
2-story?
Yes, 24 foot tall.
Building?
24 foot tall.
Oh, story, just okay, gotcha. I was thinking you were thinking there was another level there.
Yeah. 24 foot tall, so we're competing with a taller building, and it's not just a normal 1-story.
I agree with Mr. Condon. I got a question. I know everything is set up for 12 foot right now. Could this board make a change to a different height and do
Sir-
a motion and approve it?
Sir,
At
because
this
you are
point?
approving the appearance of the sign as part of the appearance, even though the planning commission granted them a higher height, if you will, it is within your purview to approve the appearance of that sign, which includes but is not limited to the size of the sign.
I'll be happy and say 10 foot. Cut it down 2 feet for the sake of the argument. I mean, I understand your point, Mr. Eggemeyer. You know, I'll be happy to shrink it 2 feet to make everyone happy and hopefully don't have to come back for, you know, another session of this. But, you know, we could even, you know, talk to me. Let's get this dialogue going on what you guys think's appropriate. I want to move forward, you know, and by constantly, you know, talking, I understand every detail needs to be, you know, every T needs to be crossed and I needs to be dotted. I get that. So, you know, while we're all here together, let's get this thing figured out. You know, I know of many signs that are larger than this. I understand, you know, that this is a different thing. It's a 3D object versus a 2D sign. I get that. I understand that there's nothing like it. You know, if I put it on the back of a truck, will you guys permit that? You know, should I get just like Twisted Root and put my logo in the back of a truck? You know, I don't think that's a smart idea. We're trying to be different. You know, so how can I be different? Tell me what size works for you guys. You know, I'm more than happy, and I'm saying it right now, I'm more than happy limiting it to 10 feet. That was the original staff recommendation, 10 feet. Planning Commission granted us 12. I'll be more than happy to do 10 foot, same square footage, and we can end this conversation and we can get on to work and start in construction so that you all can come for the grand opening night and have a great meal.
Under this situation, this one that's on the board right now, what is the distance between the awning and the top of the building?
From the awning to the ground is 11 foot, so if you subtract from 24 foot, it would be the difference.
13.
There you go.
So if it was 10, it wouldn't be sticking over the roof.
Yeah, if it's 10, it wouldn't be sticking up over the roof. I'm happy with that.
And what's the diameter of that?
At the bottom, we're looking at probably 4 or 5 foot. At the top, we're looking at about 8 or 9 foot, but it's an average of 7.5 feet if you can take the contour out.
Oh, my understanding when you submitted the drawings is, because we measure the smallest rectangle, so at the top it would be 7.5
Okay,
feet.
then I'm
So 75 square feet.
so
total.
7.5 square feet is the width. 10 foot is the height.
And so, for the record, since the 12 feet that's reflected on the renderings includes the 2-foot base, now, if it would be a 10-foot sculpture, it would actually be an 8-foot sculpture with a 2-foot base. It would still have that overall 10-foot height,
Yes.
but the sculpture itself that you would be approving, that is the sign itself, would be 8 feet high with a maximum 2-foot base. So
Could
we
you-
just want to make
could
sure
you
that we
live with
state that for
that?
the record.
I'm more than happy to get this thing going. I'm here to cook food, not debate politics or anything when it comes to what we can and can't do as far as the sign goes. You know, I'm a chef by trade, not a speaker, not a professional presenter. I'm here to simply make a compromise with the board and get people in my restaurant because I know people are excited about this thing coming to downtown. And signage is critical. Signage is critical to every business.
All right, Mr. Condon, so just to be clear, the proposed sign would be located on top of this new canopy that you're proposing. It would be a maximum of 10 feet high. That would be 8 feet with a maximum 2-foot base. You understand that in order for this rendering to move forward, even if the sign passes today, you would have to come in next month for the facade because of this canopy that you are proposing. So you understand that...
If it goes into the
if
public
it-
right-of-way.
If the facade of the building, let me go ahead and show you, if you may.
Sure, thanks.
Okay, so what you see here, for the record, Rebecca Guerra, planning manager. The rendering that you see in the middle is what was approved by this planning commission as part of the rendering. So what happens is that if you would have come the first time, they would have approved the sign and the building, but you chose to take the sign out, so they only approved the rendering that you see in the middle. Because the rendering that you're proposing today is adding a canopy, and it is substantially different than the then the rendering that was approved initially by this planning commission, you must have this rendering approved by the planning commission. They have not approved this new rendering. Now, it sounds to me as if they all agree with this revised rendering that you have. We just need to memorialize it formally, because it is substantially different. So I just want to make sure that you understand. You will have to come back next month anyway for the rendering, but not the sign. Okay? I just wanted to make sure that you
Sure.
all understood that. Perfect.
Yes, thank you.
I'm not trying to make this complicated. It sounds like it's getting a lot more complicated than it needs to be. We're here about the sign, you know. I'm willing to compromise it, you know. I'll take it to 10 foot, you know. Let's do a 10-foot sign. Let's call it a day, and I'll get to go cooking burgers up the street. You know, I just, you know, we need some compromise here as far. You know, I'm willing to drop it 2 feet if that makes you happy, Mr. Eggemeyer. I'm more than willing to drop it to 10 foot, and you know, let's get this thing you know, under construction.
For me, 10 feet is just still, I hate to be the guy that's going to do it, but I just got to stick to my guns on this.
What about
it is
8
or it
foot?
isn't. How about 6 feet?
On a 24-foot building? I'm not, I mean, like I said, I'm not here to,
It doesn't matter if it's a 80,000-foot building. I don't care the size of the building. I'm saying, does it fit within the element of the area? To me, 6 feet would do it. I'm sorry,
I
that's
propose
one member.
10 foot, that's a 2-foot deduction. I propose that, because keep in mind, we're dealing with you know, the sky, we're dealing with, you know, the outside elements, you know.
Absolutely.
Just think about if you put that angry cactus on the roof of the Cactus Hotel, no
We're
one
not
would
talking about
even
the
see
cactus,
it. Well,
Mr.
I'm just
Condon.
saying, we're talking about the
this
relativity of
We're
height.
talking about this, we're talking about this specific location and this specific part, and I would go for 6.
I just wanted to very briefly, just to restate to the board, when we had looked at his facades and originally, the reason for planning staff had originally recommended the 10 feet, it was the planning commission that wanted the 12. The reason we picked the 10 is because basically the maximum height in the river corridor is 30 feet. And so it was basically giving him an extra 4. So if you move it back to 6, that would also be that would basically be the maximum under the sign ordinance normally anyway. Of course, he got the extra approval by the
Right.
commission, just so you guys knew the numbers and all that.
Because I'm not in violation of any sign ordinance
No,
when it comes to the height. If I drop it where I'm at now, you know, I'm trying to live in the rules. I'm trying to get this thing done. You know, I'm trying to compromise, and I've shown that by dropping it right now, here and now. Let's do a 10-foot sculpture with a 2-foot base. So that's actually an 8-foot sculpture. We're 2 feet off. You know what I mean? We're arguing over 2 feet here. You know, I prefer to, you know, keep it like the planning department said, and do a 10-foot or an 8-foot sculpture with a 2-foot base. You know, that I feel that's a huge compromise for us. You know, I'm trying to work. I'm trying to make you guys happy. That's what my goal is. I'm not here to ruffle any feathers. I'm not here to, you know, do any of that. I want to compromise. I don't want to come back and keep arguing over this, because this is silly. There's a lot more positive things we can do. All of us can do with our time. So I'm willing right now to drop it to 8-foot sculpture with a 2-foot base, total of 10 feet. I feel like that's a compromise that should hopefully be honored.
All right, Madam Chairperson, if you wish, you can close the public hearing now, and then you can ask for a motion to be made, and any of your commissioners can make that motion based on what they would like.
Were there further questions at all?
No.
For Mr. Condon? Great. Then at this time, we will close public comment. I would, before we move forward with any sort of motion, like to go ahead and let everyone on this board know that I will not be voting on this issue, as it has been, Mr. Condon has objected numerous times to my voting. Therefore, I will, to be charitable, not in fact be voting. So any motion that is put forth and any voting is going to be based on the rest of you. So, do we have a motion moving away?
I would like to make a motion that we accept rendering 3 with the condition that it be an 8-foot sign with a 2-foot, 8-foot sign with a 2-foot base as drawn, and with
Yes.
the conditions that staff, the 7 conditions that staff has recommended.
Do we have a second? Ms. Mallard, are you seconding it?
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Mazur, seconded by Commissioner Mallard, to approve rendering number 3 with a received date of October the 7th, with a maximum height of 8 feet for the sign itself. That is a maximum height of 10 feet, 8 feet for the sign itself, with a maximum 2-foot-high base. We also have the understanding, based on condition of approval number 7, that the applicant will return to this commission next month, as early as next month, for their new rendering, whose canopy may or may not be in the right-of-way. If it is, they have the understanding they will have to go before City Council. So we have a motion, we have a second.
So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, well, there you go.
And for the record, the chair has abstained from this. We have an aye from Commissioner Mallard. We have an aye from Commissioner Mazur. We have a nay from Commissioner Eggmeyer. We have the chair abstaining. Ms. Sandra, you have indicated nay. Thank you, ma'am. And Commissioner, you have also indicated nay. So to my count, we have 3 nays and 2 ayes. Therefore, your motion has failed. The vote has failed. So we may make a new motion, or for an additional height rendering, or you may choose to table the matter for further reflection upon this commission, since the applicant has to return next month anyway. This way, we could table it, your item doesn't die today, and it gets to be reheard next month. All right, so that, since the chair has recused herself, I will go ahead and ask the commission if there is a motion to table the item to the next commission hearing.
I so moved.
Commissioner Mallard has made the motion. Who would like to make the second?
I'll second.
Commissioner has made, I'm sorry, sir.
Donaldson.
Thomason has made the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries for the matter to be tabled until next month, at which time you will re-review the proposed sign, as well as the new rendering of the facade of the building. Thank you.
All right. Now, at this time, we have one final. Is there anything further from the public that needs to be addressed? Okay, then do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I second it.
All right. All those in favor then, I'm sorry. Aye. Yay, done. We're out of here. Thanks, y'all. I appreciate everyone being here and your time.